Hello everyone and welcome to another most exciting game from round 8 of the 2020 Tata Steel Masters edition, and this is I believe the best game played so far. It has everything, and you are going to enjoy it. It's Fabiano Caruana versus Vishwanathan Anand, former World Chess Championship challenger against former World Chess Champion, and let's dive straight into it. So Fabiano opens with d4. We have knight to f6 by Anand, c4, we have e6, knight f3, and d5. We have knight c3, the queen's gambit declined is on the board, and Anand goes for the Ragozin defense, bishop to g4, bishop to b4. We have a trade in the center, captures, and now bishop to f4. Just developing the bishop to f4 instead of g5. We have castles, and now e3. And here queen to b3. So you can see that Anand is not still making it clear what he intends to do with the c pawn. He didn't push it to c5. So Caruana goes for queen to first bishop to f5 by Anand, and now queen to b3. As he still didn't decide what to do with the c pawn, Anand goes knight to c6, which is very rare that you will develop a knight before you actually develop the c pawn. But okay. Bishop to g5, now pinning the knight here, and here comes, well, there is one game where rook to e8 was played, but here Anand plays a5, and it is a new move in the position, so already as of move 9 we have a completely new game. Anand prepared a very sneaky pawn sacrifice. So here he's asking, what do you want to do? Well, the d5 pawn is up for grabs, maybe, but first you have to remove the defender of the pawn. So here, Fabi plays bishop captures on f6. We have queen captures on f6, and now the thing is, you cannot capture with the knight since the knight is pinned, but you can capture with the queen. But this results in an incredibly complicated game, which surely Anand prepared as he went willingly into this. Rook f to d8 attacks the queen. Queen moves, and now b5 with yet another pawn sacrifice. Queen captures, and now knight captures on d4. So a temporary piece sacrifice. Knight captures on d4, and now even c5. And now you will win back the piece, and the white king is still in the center of the board. If you move, of course, you allow captures on c3 with check, then queen captures with check, you lose the rook, and well, you're just getting destroyed. So here, after queen to f6, Fabi says, okay, I will grab the pawn, but first a3. First move your bishop so I don't have to worry about this pin. So here Anand just captures it, but not right away. First he plays a4. Kicks away the queen. Queen captures on d5, so he forces this, and now he captures on c3. Bishop captures on c3 with check. B captures, and now knight to a5, going after the b3 square to go after the rook on a1. And let's not forget, Fabi's king is still in the center of the board. So here Fabi says, okay, I grab the pawn, let's trade queens. And Anand says, no thank you, sir. He goes queen back to c6. And he attacks the c3 pawn now with the possibility of check. And now c4 by Fabi. And what do you play? Yes, your bishop is hanging here, but if you capture, queen captures with check, rook is grabbed, and that's just game. So here c4. Now asking Anand, what are you going to do? I'm still going to capture a bishop here. And Anand goes knight to b3. And here Fabi said, okay, now I could maybe play something like rook a2, but then bishop g4 comes, and my king is still in the center of the board, and all of these pieces are running up around my king. Rook d8, rook e8 is coming, and it will not be pleasant. So here Fabi decides he's already up a pawn, why not give up the exchange? He plays queen captures on f5. We have knight captures on a1 by Anand, and now bishop to d3, developing while threatening mate. We have g6 by Anand, and queen back to f4, and now knight back to b3. You want to get your knight into the game. So what do you do? Here we have castles by Caruana. He doesn't want to go for something barbaric like queen h6 because it's very easy to defend mate. Queen f6 here and queen g7, so you don't have to worry about that, as I know a lot of you were thinking about this. So we have castles by Fabi, and now queen to d6, offering a queen trade, but now Fabi is down the exchange, so now Fabi declines, and now he goes for queen to h6, basically when Anand forces him to. Queen to f6, you have to be ready for knight g5 if it comes, and now c5. So what do you do here? B6, trying to destroy this very nice pawn chain. We have C captures, and now knight to E5. And already it could be a bit crowded here if bishop comes to c4, also comes after the f7 pawn, f4, f5 is coming, you could maybe open up the position like this. So even though Anand is up the exchange, he's still down a pawn, and he will have to be a little bit careful. So rook f to c8 by Anand, he wants to get rid of Caruana's remaining rook. We have f4, preparing f5, and now rook to c1. And okay, rook captures, we have knight captures, now the bishop is under attack, so bishop to c4. And this is what we discussed, that now the bishop and knight are eyeing the f7 pawn. So rook to a7, defending it, and now knight to g4, pushing the queen back. We have queen to d6. Now attacking the a3 pawn, but Fabi makes sure that it will be very pricey to go after that pawn. He plays queen to g5. Now you constantly have to consider what happens if knight h6 check, knight f6 check. And here you could go for this pawn, but like I said, it's a very pricey pawn, because here you get queen d8 check, queen back to f8, and now queen captures on b6, attacking the rook. Rook moves, and now you get queen back to f6, and it's just again not very pleasant. Yes, you do have a passed a pawn, but it's not like you will be able to push it, because if you push the pawn, then you just run into the very unpleasant bishop captures on f7. That's the problem. Queen captures, knight h6 check, and you lose the game. So okay, instead of a3, you could bring another defender to the a7 pawn, but then f5 comes, and it's again very, very hard to defend this with black. One point being that, let's say you try queen g7, then queen d8 check, and here you again blunder your queen. Queen f8, now you go knight h6 check, the queen is pinned, so you have to go here, and now f6 check, removes the defender of the queen. King captures, queen captures here with check. So it's going after this pawn would be very risky. So Anand offers a queen trade, queen e7, queen to b5 now by Fabi, putting pressure on those queenside pawns, and now king to g7. And here Fabi ignores the pawns on the queenside, he continues the attack. We have f5. So f6 by Anand, and now comes queen to d5. Now Fabi threatens queen to g8 checkmate. We have queen to f8 defending, and now f captures on g6. We have h captures on g6, and now e4 by Fabi. So it's still Anand still up the exchange, but Fabi's a very strong center, and active pieces are giving Anand a lot of problems. So here we have queen to c8, putting pressure on the bishop, still controlling this square and putting pressure on the knight. Although there was the possibility for Anand to play the beautiful b5 here. It forces a capture either with the queen or with the bishop, and basically if bishop captures, you no longer have this bishop-queen battery eyeing the g8 square, so now you can capture on a3, create a passed pawn, then you return the queen, and then you start pushing the pawn. So this was a possibility for Anand, but instead he went queen to c8, and now h3, defending the knight on g4 as the queen was attacking it, and now rook to d7. Pushing the queen back, queen e6, pinning the rook, and now queen to d8, attacking the d4 pawn here. But now you have to be very careful. If you play something like d5, then rook to d6 just wins the queen. The queen is now trapped, you don't have a square. So Fabi, of course, goes for e5 now, with a lot of threats against the f6 pawn. We have f5 by Anand, and now comes a move that... well, Fabi wasn't happy after he played this move. He said so in an interview after the game. Well, it's also possible for me to ask you what you would play here, so that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Feel free to pause the video. What do you play here? Well, I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations, as it's a move that's almost impossible to find. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, Fabi played queen to f6 check, and he was not happy with this. However, knight to f6 is deadly. Point being that after rook to e7 attacking the queen, you have queen to d6 now, and it seems like a weird move. You're gonna ruin your pawn structure, your knight will be undefended. However, not all is as it seems. Queen captures, pawn captures. Now you cannot capture because of captures, and you cannot go in front of the pawn since the knight covers that square. Point is, after you go back, let's say rook b7, knight delivers check, King f8 and now knight to c7 locks the rook out of the game, and also the knight and pawn create a wall against the black king. This is just some very impressive chess. Rook b8, hoping to bring the rook back into the game, but now knight e6 check. King e8, bishop b5 check. The only move, king f7. Now you just defend d5. And now, well, there are a lot of ways to play this, but we're just going to give one line. For example, knight b3, bringing the knight into the game, d7 now. King to e7, now comes king f2. Knight to c5 finally, and now finally you bring the pawn all the way, because you wait basically until the knight lands here, and now you win back your exchange, captures, and then now comes king e3, and it's the exact same material. However, Fabi's king is a lot more active, and he does have the passed d pawn, so white is definitely to be preferred much. Probably it is winning with the absolute best play. But Fabi didn't go for knight f6, he went for queen f6 check, and now comes queen captures on f6 with check, without check, e captures with check, king h7, and now knight to e5, attacking the rook. Rook captures on d4 is, well, somewhat problematic because of f7, and now how do you prevent the queening? You could go back, but then you get knight to d7, and here, well, it's basically a draw. You cannot capture because of queen, but you can play king g7, and now white wins back his material. Captures, and now, yes, black is up a pawn, but bishop b5 picks it up, and it's equal material. So if Anand goes for the pawn, it's basically a draw, but Anand wants to go for the win now. He goes rook to d6, now attacks the f6 pawn, f7, and now king g7. And now you don't have any sneaky tricks to go something like knight e7, because, well, the king is on g7, the rook would just gobble it up. So knight back to f3, defending the d4 pawn, and now knight to b3. Anand starts bringing the knight back into the game. Knight to g5 now, and here comes knight to d2, attacking the bishop, bishop to e6, and now comes rook to d8. Just a great defender. And here, okay, if the bishop wasn't here, you would have check and this, but there's always time for that. First, it's time to bring the king into the game. King f2, and now best for Anand is knight to b3. Add another attacker to the pawn here, and also just start bringing your knight back into the game. However, Anand played king to f6, and if you don't know that there is a hidden secret here, king f6 is a perfectly good move. However, here Fabi has a very nice move, so once again feel free to pause the video and try to find this move that Fabi played in this position while I give you a couple of seconds. So, for those of you who were able to do it, it's actually not f8 queen. If you found f8 queen, yes, that's possible, but then after captures check, you're gonna capture on e6, captures on f8 with check, king f7, goes after the knight, knight to d7, and now knight to c4, defends this pawn and attacks this pawn. And after, let's say, king e2, start bringing the king into the game, b5 comes, white knight no longer has a target, you are eliminating the a3 pawn, and you will have two connected pass pawns on the queen side. So this would, in fact, be losing if you decided to go for this, well, aesthetically pleasing check, but it's not the way to go. For those of you who found bishop to d7, however, congratulations. And this is, in fact, what Fabi played, for those of you who just want to enjoy the show. And now, of course, you cannot capture the knight. If you capture the knight, you get bishop to e8, and the next move, it's just a queen on the board. And after bishop to d7, of course, if you capture the bishop, then again, you bring a queen into the game. So here, Anand played the only good move for black, knight e4 check. We have knight captures, pawn captures, and now bishop to e8, and here, king to e7, so keeping an eye on this square. But now, king to e3. Now, Fabi's king starts getting more activity. We have rook to b8, preparing to push the pawn, but now Fabi can just eliminate the pawn. Bishop captures on a4. And here, for some reason, Anand doesn't capture the f7 pawn, which is just weird. Here, Anand first played b5, pushed the bishop back, but now Fabi just played bishop to b3, and he defends the pawn, which is odd. And okay, rook to a8, Anand goes after the a3 pawn, king captures on e4. We have rook captures on a3, and now bishop to e6, again preventing capture because of queening. And here, b4 is the only move that has activity left for black, since the rook will help the pawn cross the b3 square. The bishop will not be able to capture it. Also, rook to a6 is possible, just going after the bishop. But here Anand played rook to a1, and now he gave Fabi a very, very important tempo, d5. So okay, rook to d1, preventing d6, but now Fabi just plays king to e5. And here a valiant try was rook to e1 check, bringing the king back and only then playing rook to f1. But here Anand plays rook to f1 without forcing Fabi's king to move back, and now Fabi just advances the pawn, d6 check, king f8, and now king to d5. We have rook to f6, but now d7. King to e7, and this is where the magic happens. Here Fabi plays king to c6, and yes, this is possible. It's incredible. I mean, even if rook captures on e6 with check, you have king c7, and there's no way to guard against queening. If you play rook d6, then you just queen the other pawn, f8 queen, king captures, and now you capture here, and next move you bring a queen into the game. So king c6, what a magical move. So here Anand tried a rook back to f2, but here king captures on b5. We have rook to b2 with check, king to c6, and now rook to b8, keeping control of the back rank. But now king to c7, and it was in this position on move 61 that Viswanathan Anand resigned the game, as there is no way to do anything here. To quickly demonstrate, if you move the rook just bishop to d5, you're gonna transfer your bishop. The rook is under attack. For example, rook to d8. You can never leave the back rank. If you leave the back rank, you just first queen this pawn, then queen this pawn. Doesn't really matter, or just this pawn since it's defended. So rook to d8, but now you go king c6, and after some move, again, you can never capture here, because if you capture here, just f8 queen captures, and it's of course again winning. So here black would just have to wait, g5, but now g4, rook to a8, and now h4. Pawn captures, g5. You never have to worry about this pawn since the bishop covers the h1 square, so it's not a problem. You're just gonna have to wait, rook d8, g6, rook to a8, g7, and now any move wins for white. So really a beautiful game by both of them, and again showing that chess is definitely ruthless. Anand played a brilliant game. He outplayed Fabi in the opening. He outprepared him. He was pressuring him, pushing with all his might. But chess is just ruthless, and in the end, it's Fabi who takes a full point. So yeah. That's the game. I do hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, after king c7, the game ended. And here are the standings after round 8. So we can check that out. I don't know if I will be showing any more games from round 8. So here they are. Here we have it. Fabiano Caruana catches up to Alireza Firuzja with 5.5 out of 8. Followed by 5 points, Wesley So, Jordan Van Forest. Then with 4.5, Jan Krzysztof Duda and Magnus Carlsen. Both of them still going at it. They are not doing the Giri anymore, though. They each have 1 win. Then with 4 points, Daniil Dubov, Anish Giri, and Vladislav Artemiev. With 3.5, Viswanathan Anand. With 3, Jeffrey Shiong. And with 2.5, Nikita Vityugov, Yuangi, and Vladislav Kovalyev won 1 game today against Jeffrey Shiong. So now he also caught up to Yuangi and Nikita Vityugov. So yeah, really crazy stuff. Tomorrow, anything can happen. It's interesting to point that Alireza tomorrow has white against Magnus, so that's going to be really intense. But also, I don't know which round is that, but Fabi will have white against Alireza, so Fabi has excellent chances on winning this tournament. It's going to be really crazy. So yeah, I do hope you enjoyed it. Once again, I would like to thank Robert Fisher and Nico Labra for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of the Tata Steel, the Women's World Chess Championship, checking up on your wonderful suggestions, and whatever else happens in the chess world. So thank you all, I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your Sunday, or if it's already Monday to you, sorry about that.